Welcome back, everybody. I'm the Dr. Bob Lee from BLS. You're watching Open, and our next guest is a writer and entrepreneur, and she's with us today to promote her Flying book series and to speak about how she has balanced motherhood and entrepreneurship. So please welcome to the show, Carline Beaubrun. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. Hello, everyone.
You're doing the major shuffle here, right? So do dance. What are you going to do with it? Tell us how it all came about.
Yeah, so the Flying Solo series had been a COVID passion that just it took a life of its own. I've come through, some difficult life journeys, and I've always wanted to put my story down on paper. Every time I share my story with others, they're inspired and motivated by what I have gone through. And so it's always been something on my bucket list. And I've always said, I'm going to write a book. I'm going to write a book, because other people say, oh, you should write a book. You should write a book. But it's never happened because I'm a busy bee. I own multiple businesses. I'm running around. I'm a single mom. But COVID gave me the time to, sit in one place and, to just start writing. And so I used those 2 years, the first year, to start writing the book. And by the time they started, opening up, things back up again, and I was just like, wait, I'm not finished. I need more time. So I was in the middle of writing the book, and I finished it and launched it this past April. And so I'm super excited to share it with the world. It's a soul-wrenching story of survival, and how I turned trials into triumph. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, I'm excited to share it with you.
The Flying Solo book series.
I'm sorry?
How'd you come up with the name, the Flying Solo book series?
Yeah, the Flying Solo, well, it was one book. I started off with one book, and it was so much gems, so much information to share, so much knowledge, so much stories that, impactful stories that I said I could not just put it into one book. Yeah. And Flying Solo came from, my journey of being a single mother, and doing all that I have, like I said, turning trials into triumph, turning pain into purpose. And so being able to fly as a single parent, with 3 kids, they were toddlers at the time. My divorce took 11 years. And so I literally rebuild my life from the ground up, raising my children. And so what better way to express that than flying solo?
Flying solo. So you had a rough time.
Yes.
There was some challenges. What were some of the biggest challenges that you had to go through, not only in putting this together, but in, you said, redirecting your life?
Oh, absolutely. So, so going through the divorce, my children at the time were 5, 3, and 8 months old. And I was divorcing a narcissistic husband who at the time was completely out to just destroy everything that I've had, everything that I've built, everything all the entire foundation that we had practically. And it was almost as if he was saying, without me, you will never be anything. But one thing he forgot was that, I'm a woman of faith, and before him, I was someone, and without him, I will always be a child of God. So at the end of the day, I had to move on faith. And he left me with absolutely nothing. I lost everything going through the 11-year divorce. I lost my home. I lost my business at the time. I had to start over from scratch. I moved in back home in my parents' house in the bedroom I grew up in with my 3 children, and had to literally start over. And so those were the most challenging times in my life. I share all of those stories within the book. The first book, Passion to Profit, is about my entrepreneurship journey and how I turned my passions into profitable, scalable income in order for me to take care of my children. I wanted the flexibility that entrepreneurship gave me in order to provide for my children without working a 9 to 5. I wanted to be there for them. I wanted to be able to provide for them. I was a sole breadwinner at the time. And so it became a do or die situation. And so I chose to do so that I would not die. And so I share all of the gems of how I did that, how I was able to accomplish that. I now own multiple businesses in the hospitality, entertainment, nonprofit sectors, and I'm helping other women and families that are going through similar life situations as well.
nothing can stop you. You're all the way up.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. The way you came through a lot. I'm just listening, Well, and I'm sure you're a great inspiration to a lot of other women who are going through some of the same things that you've come through.
That's what I aspire to be able to do. I always say you pass your story on, you pass the baton on, you share your story, and hopefully, your story provides purpose to others who are going through the same things, because they can do
Sometimes
it.
you get into a relationship, you can't tell who's who.
Oh yeah.
Get a chance to experience life with them a little bit, like move in and share some of those things of life.
Absolutely.
You
Real
weren't
time moments.
narcissistic person until you got into it, right?
Yes, absolutely. That is something I'm talking about in the second book, where I go deeper into this. That particular book is called Broken to Blessed. That's the second volume 2 of the Flying Solo series. Broken to Blessed is all about, my divorce, the domestic violence, divorcing a narcissist, how to find, how to identify a narcissist, how to protect your children from it.
Yeah.
The divorce process is completely different from a regular divorce. They put you through it. So the second book talks about all the nitty gritty of how I even married a narcissist, so just like sometimes you don't realize that a lot of your childhood trials end up growing with you, and you marry what you're running from.
You mentioned something very, very important. I'm sure a lot of people want to know. How do you identify a narcissist?
Oh, that's in the book, but
I'll
share a little bit with you.
Yeah, share a little bit and we'll read the rest.
Definitely. Definitely.
But,
there are different types of narcs. And so for you to really be able to identify, you have to pay attention, you have to observe, ask a lot of questions, pay attention. The first sign is always, the love bombing phase, which is, they're all over you. They're all about you. They don't want to leave your side, everything and anything to make you happy. They pay attention to what your wants are, what your desires are, what, makes you smile. And everything is all about you and making you feel so comfortable in a space where you feel that you're safe.
This is before the marriage?
This is before the marriage, yes. But if you're not paying attention, you're just thinking like, oh, this is blissful. This is, this is love. This person.
And I mean, you think it's
oh yeah,
it's thing, normal way of
exactly, life. Exactly. And so you have to pay attention to those signs, and pay attention also to how they talk about other people, talk about, their family members, their friends, pay attention to their surroundings. Narcs, again, there's different types of narcs. Some narcs like to say to themselves, they don't have too many people in their circle, where others are socialites. But the social aspects of it also like breaks down into how they will also like, the control aspect of controlling,
relationships
and things like that.
Yeah.
Very, very important. And
so things shift after you get married.
It's not necessarily after you get married. You start to see, because I started noticing things, but I always brushed it off, and I was just like, nah, right. Because but like you mentioned earlier, if you're not really in a space where you're living with the person, and you get to go home, after you get into a fight with a person, you get into a disagreement, you go home, you take a deep breath, you calm down, and then you come back to each other either a day or two later. And then it's blissful moments again. But when you're living in the living quarters with someone and you're seeing them on a regular basis, you start to see a lot of things that you did not notice before. You start to see a lot of, their ways that maybe you wouldn't have noticed before. And definitely, I know, coming from an island home background, Caribbean background, that was not allowed for you to marry for you to be living with someone without marriage. Yes. And so a lot of these things I didn't get to see, but I saw some signs, and I was just like, no, it's nothing. Because after I took a deep breath, we took some time apart, we came back, and everything was blissful again. Yeah. But yes, it starts to derail after a while.
So we have to read this book. Where do we get it again? Do you have any book signings coming up? What's happening? Let us know.
Oh yes, I have a book tour. I have a book tour. I'm going from city to city. I'll be in Miami. I'll be in Iowa. I'll be in Detroit. I will also be in Jersey. So you can find a lot of that information out of all the cities that I'll be stopping in on my website, flyingSoloblog.com. You can also follow me on social media at Flying Solo blog, which is on Instagram. We have a Facebook. I'm always, looking to connect with those who need assistance in any way. I have a nonprofit organization that also helps to support families that are going through these difficult life challenges as well.
Well, we're sorry that you went all the way through it, but God took you to it and through it, and you came all the way
Purpose.
to the end, and it's
Yes.
good. Praise God that you came out and you're doing
Absolutely.
some things. And
thank you.
Definitely able to take care of the kids and put out the series that's very, I'm sure, going to be very enlightening to a lot of the people who want to read your book.
Thank you so much.
I produce and send him one.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I will.
Do you have a website?
Yes, flyingSoloblog.com.
Well, we appreciate you and we love you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Carline Beaubrun, Flying Solo series. She's a writer and she's doing a thing, and she's going to be a very inspirational person to a whole lot of people. Thank you. We'll take a break right here. I've got more open coming up next. You don't want to move a muscle.